Hello everyone, hope you're having a fantastic day and welcome back to Fear and Hunger. There's going to be something I have to probably deviate on this before I even actually explore the game. I found something really interesting that probably not everyone knows about. Like, let's say a lot of you watching, you already have the game, you didn't beta test the game or play test the game, but you went in New Game, and you went like, oh yeah, look at all these characters, and you picked one that was your favorite, or picked one you thought was interesting, but that you hadn't picked this guy. There's something interesting about him that I found that I want to focus on before I really get into the game, and there's a reason for that. Contrary to other priests' beliefs, Yellow Mage don't dedicate their lives to worship. Yellow Mages only use otherworldly powers only to their own benefit. There's a special reason. I was like just looking around because I did offline after the first episode. I was looking around to be like, okay, what skills do these characters have, you know, besides JoJo character? And I checked out all the characters, like all this character's skills, just to see what I would go with, because I'd still want to try playing the game the first time, depending if I fail halfway and have to restart like I did a few times in Fear and Hunger 1. Because Fear and Hunger 1, it's not like I just started one character and went from start to finish with that one. I remember I had to redo, I don't know what, 3-4 times? But then I was like, okay, I want to check what spells this guy has. And then I found two very interesting things that would be kind of spoiled by what I would title this game. Or title the video, rather. So before I even get into the game itself, there's something rather important I want to thoroughly investigate. And that is through full-text adventure. I already spoiled it. The full-text adventure, it quite literally replays Fear and Hunger 1. I don't know what to extent and what can be found. All I know is I found it. I was like, oh shit, okay, well I gotta stop doing this and actually record this. What can be found? Like, let's get into it, like, seriously. It had me going, whoa, like, holy shit, like, astounded and excited for once. And it's hard to get someone like me excited for something. The soothing sound of the rail tracks. You were not used to such peaceful and tranquil atmosphere. You can't help but let your mind wander. You reminisce what has led you to this point in life. You were born and raised in the raging heats of Ibazonia, the continent with a long history embedded with chaos and warring factions. Those fools. The people around you waged wars over ancient disputes and grudges started by long ago ancestors. That is how it has always been. The people of Ibazonia held ancestors, and their spirits on a godlike pedestal. But it's not like it was any better in the north, in the continent of Europa. Those fools worshipped ancient deities that none of them had ever seen with their own eyes. And they certainly had their disputes as well, a great war after another. What's worse, their disputes didn't stay within their borders. They dragged everyone into their mess. They had set their eyes on Ibazonia now because of its strategic position in securing an access to oil and other raw materials from the east. It was only a matter of time before their troops would march on your land. You're not going to die because some faceless puppeteers chose to focus their magnifying glasses on your home country this time. Despite your young age, you decided to leave. Your siblings and mother would mourn your departure. They wanted you to have something to remember them by. I also don't know what a check is. I think it's a soulstone would be good for getting another skill, but I think check is like a staff maybe? I don't know yet. You took the check with you. Ugh. And my nose is feeling like absolutely horrible. Like, if you see me holding my nose, it's because it's like, my nose has been dry because of winter dryness, so I put like, you know, like nasal spray, and it's just made my inside of my nose completely feel, I mean it's made with like sodium hyaluronate, and it's made my nose feeling like the kind of sensation when you're swimming in a chlorinated pool and you accidentally snort the water, or breathe like through your nose and you get like chlorinated water in your nose, and you know that burning, irritating feeling? It's basically that. So, I wish I could just flush my nose out, without it, like, this is weird. Anyways, it'll happen sometimes through this video. You considered yourself as successfully dead inside, not swayed by emotions, but it took a lot of effort to convince yourself that you wouldn't miss your family. You still obviously had weakness to weed out. You headed to the city of the sun, Amon. to educate yourself on the spiritualism and religion. You were no slouch. You were no slouch physically. Slow. Slough is... Wait, hang on a sec. So apparently, it's pronounced in different ways depending on the meaning. It's pronounced slough? Is the term for shedding skin? You were no slough physically? Is it just snake skin? Wait, what? What is slough? A place of deep mud? I'm gonna presume they meant slouch, and that is actually a typo. Because that's definitely not what... slough. Anyways, it's definitely slouch. But yeah. But you always considered your intellect your true forte. And just like you were accepted as an apprentice after some preliminary tests, at the same time, news about the Great War closing Amazonian borders were all they could talk about on the radio. Amon was far from the borders and would probably remain safe for a good while even after the war broke. You figured you'd still have plenty of time to learn at the temple and leave the country before it was too late. At the Temple of Ammon, you were given a choice to learn various different schools. If you do your home country, it's meditation, if I remember correctly. I can't remember what these two did, so I'll do Europa. Almer, but among the scholars it wasn't too... yeah. So you could go... probably find different skills for each of these, or just... I think if you do that, then... it's not that you get a skill, but it's just like your growth towards that grows more. Like, let's say if I do... learn of the moon god. Your affinity to the moon god grew. No actual skills if you do that, but it means you're, I guess, just more attuned to that god. Just like in the first game. But I could barely remember anything about, like, the attunations of gods, because I wasn't much of a mage character, and, or at least not to my memory. All I remember is being, like, the pyromancer kind of guy, but just using, you know, soul stones to get skills, but I don't remember the affinity in its purposes on ritual symbols and all that in Fear and Hunger 1. I'd say it's a real big blur for me. But we won't stick with this, obviously. The whole purpose of this is to get to the portion of what is mostly important, which is like what I wanted to emphasize in this video as we get through this. You're talented and raised for your quick learning at the temple, but that came to no surprise to you. You knew you were smarter than most of those old geezers. They only possessed knowledge you wanted. Once you had that, they served no purpose to you. More time you spent at the temple, the more pathetic the priests of Ammon started to look in your eyes. Religion in general started to look dubious too, after examining how the world functioned. Most religious doctrines were molded to accommodate the current ruling class. Religion was used as a mere tool to control the masses, more than anything else. Dedicating your life to worship would equal dedicating your life to kings and queens of the time. You'd left your home because you didn't want to die fighting someone else's war, so why would you waste your life serving someone else in turn? Around this time you found an old scroll from one of the many Ammon libraries. The scroll mentioned an old sect of magical practitioners originated from the eastern sanctuaries whose worldview seemed more appealing to you. Yellow Mages differed from your typical priests. Instead of dedicating their lives to worship, gods existed for them. Their force was to be harnessed to further one's own personal growth and agenda. Instead of finding order from the commandments laid out by the older gods, Yellow Mages reveled in chaos. Chaos was the natural state of the world, would return to time and time again, so why even try and force it to anything else? You quit at the Temple of Ammon and decided to head east in pursuit of these Yellow Mages. You traveled beyond your home continent, ultimately finding yourself at the narrow streets of eastern sanctuaries. You got acquainted with the local temples. Even they had adopted the worship of Al-Mur as their main religion. Eastern sanctuaries were no better than the temples of Ammon in that regard. If anything, religion was even more prevalent there and dictated the way people were to live and die. You were looked down upon by the scholars and religious leaders of the area because of your public opinions. That didn't bother you. You knew better. In time, your convention convinced the facets you wanted. You were approached by a group of traveling mages who wore colorful attires. The Yellow Mages that were still around in this day and age were reduced to small separate groups wandering around the world to study all fields of the otherworldly. The group saw the potential in you and offered a place among them. You liked what you heard and decided to join the wandering group. What did you specialize in? If you do advanced magic, it is herding, which I don't know if it's OP, but I'd imagine herding could still be amazing in terms of just using herding on the head, because magic plus accuracy to head. It's either they made it as balanced as melee weapons and ranged weapons aiming for head. I don't know. But if advanced is hurting, I want to see what basic does. Oh yeah, La Danse Macabre. That is like, the longer a fight draws in, the more powerful you become kind of thing. I'd go with hurting, because if you could get greater hurting, if that exists in the game, that'd probably be great. But we're just ignoring this. We'll just do this like this one time. Your path of learning and self-growth actually, wait, this would help. Shit, wait. Actually, I'd want to actually make this in a proper thing. I might actually have to restart this, but I'll do it one time and get the right, like, hurting, the right gear next time, but hang on. Your path of learning and self-growth knew no end. Your travels have brought you to a small border town in eastern sanctuaries. There you met a curious person, Hadil Azif, a self-proclaimed wizard from the Far East. Despite his pretentious appearance, his family name Azif was well known and even somewhat feared in certain occult circles, which gave his claims at least some credibility. He was gathering a group of adventurers to accompany him on a perilous quest. He had inherited a map from his late grandfather that was supposed to lead him to the infamous dungeons. The infamous dungeons of Fear and Hunger itself. The place used to be a noteworthy location of pilgrimage for many aspiring mages and priests in the distant past. The Yellow Mages you had spent time with previously told ominous tales about the dungeon as well. Initially, you dismissed Azif's talks, only to be haunted by the most brutal nightmares on the following night. Something was calling for you. You had to witness the place yourself. He joined the motley crew of adventurers. Azif had managed to put together and traveled through war-torn Europa. Most of the crew quit halfway to Rondon because of how difficult it was to cross the borders during those chaotic times. The closer to the destination you got, more feverish your dreams became. The remaining members of your ragtag fellowship were visibly sick from stress and otherworldly pressure that had befallen on you the moment you set on your quest. The breaking point was the day you were finally to arrive at the dungeons. A heavy fog drowned your camp and made navigation impossible. Using a compass did no good, as the thing was just spinning circles wildly. Distant growls and howls created unrest, not that there were any need for the superstition and constant misfortune that had already convinced your fellow travelers that this trip was cursed from the start. Your companions panicked and scattered to the mist. Azif himself had been sick from constant nightmares for half the trip already. You left him curled up in a fetus position in his tent and ventured forward on your own. After walking for a while, you started to make out something behind the thick white veil. The mist revealed structures of some kind. You got to a set of old ruins, or they looked more like a measly pile of rubble now. If it wasn't for the dreadful aura emanating from deep within, you couldn't tell there was anything remarkable about this place whatsoever. Near the main entrance arc, there was a makeshift archaeological site with tents and digging equipment. The site looked abandoned. On the other side, there was a side entrance to the dungeons with stairs leading down to the darkness. Like, I could already see the map of fucking Fear and Hunger. The archaeological site seemed relatively new, maybe a couple of years old at tops. There were no signs of people. Whoever had set this up had long abandoned the place too. All the documents and reports were written by Bremen, so you couldn't tell what exactly these people were looking for. Good old Bremen. This might have been just a regular archaeological site excursion that stumbled into their certain doom unknowingly. If these were truly the dungeons of Fear and Hunger, then even in their current state they would surely swallow unprepared tourists whole. So yeah. Like, literally, at this point, you can play Fear and Hunger through this guy's perspective, apparently. But like, everything, I played a little bit. Just a tiny bit. And I was blown away, just like, if this is truly, like, the tent wasn't there. And this is definitely after Fear and Hunger 1. This is a sequel, obviously. But when did this... what am I thinking? When did this adventure of him, reminiscing of him going to Fear and Hunger, when did it happen? How many years after Fear and Hunger 1 is this current timeline set in? And then how far back is this set? Like 2 years ago? A year ago? I'm kind of curious. You'll find out why I'm curious. But, well, first, honestly, I want to redo the character because I want hurting. Your skills in the past will benefit this. Basically, what do they even call it? Not a visual novel. text adventure. So let me redo that and get hurting, because I definitely want hurting. Alright, so learning magic from Eastern Sanctuaries. Pyromancy trick. We skip right ahead. Advanced magic. Hurting. Hurting was an amazing skill. Your path of learning and self-growth, yada yada. There we go. Okay. So we'll examine the tents just for the sake of that, but let's just picture in your head, like, just the absolute nostalgia, especially for me, being like someone that played the original demo in Fear Hunger. Then, you know, like how often I played Fear Hunger, it's still, the map is still burned in my mind. So I'll know exactly where I'm going. But side entrance is kind of dangerous. I'm kind of curious. Main entrance is like really, it's safe but not safe because the guards are there. But there's only, like, there's a certain point of where I'm spoiled at and where I'm not. But I don't remember going to the side unless it's broken down. Cautiously, you walk down the slippery stairs only to find a cave-in. The hallway had totally collapsed, and there seemed to be no way around it. Buried under the rubble, there was an old skeleton in medieval leather armor crushed under a ton of rocks. You didn't want to suffer the same fate with the skeleton, so you returned back. Okay, so the side tunnel is broken down. This has to be after our adventure in Fear and Hunger 1, then, because things are broken down where it wasn't before. The moment you stepped inside the dungeon walls, you felt immensely otherworldly pressure. You understood that this place would drain any normal person to the brink of madness and starvation in a matter of mere hours. You had to be efficient about this. Even if the day was still bright, the darkness seemed to suffocate all light and you could barely see anything ahead of you. You lit up a torch. You stood at the vestibule of the dungeons. To your left, you saw a doorway leading to what seemed like a kitchen. Nostalgic. There was a small room with an old wooden furniture in front of you, and to your right, there was a closed door. Go back outside now. The kitchen. The room had a small stools around a large wooden table. I just don't know if adventuring and searching means risking death, basically. Check the wooden barrels. The barrels might have once stored food items, but that was hundreds of years ago. There's nothing useful anymore. Suddenly you heard a loud banging and screeching coming from the entrance hall. Adrenaline was rushing through you as you ran back to see what was causing the noise. The closed door was jolting from its hinges. Something big was trying to force its way through the doors. Whatever it was created inhuman guttural sounds between its swings at the door. Wait and see. No, hide in the room in front of you. Hide in the kitchen. You quickly waltzed inside the kitchen and pressed again against a corner where you thought you could stay hidden while still seeing what you were up against. The door crashed open. You saw a dark silhouette of a gigantic malformed being push from the open doorway. The creature made gurgling noises as it slowly wandered to the other room. You used this chance to sneak past the thing to the dark corridor where it first came from. Only the creature had clearly gotten used to the darkness as it sensed you the moment you got out of your hiding spot. You charged the unknown darkness without a second thought. You ran as fast as you could, creating a distance to the malformed beast. With each step, you couldn't see much in the darkness, but a door frame that had light shining through its cracks caught your attention. You tackled the door open and stumbled to an overground courtyard. Quickly glancing back to the dark corridor, you noticed that the beast was nowhere to be seen. Guessing it means the prison guard that has the dick tails and whatnot. You figured that the last rays of the setting sun still kept it at bay. You took a breather and slowly walked across the yard. The grass had taken a sickly yellowish color, and the setting sun created ominous shadows as its rays hit the lone gallows standing at the center of the enclosure. As you managed to focus your thoughts, you realized that there was an additional voice echoing in your head. Something or someone was calling you from the depths of the Forsaken Fortress. There was something very curious about this echo. You needed to find its source, not like you had a choice, but to delve deeper as the sun was rapidly setting down, stripping you from the last barrier that kept the murderous beast hiding in the shadows. The courtyard led to another door to the darkness. You pushed forward. The problem is, this is then the point, I'm guessing, if you were to picture it in your head. And there's still a bunch of things I'd want to check in the previous room, so it's like, I don't want to rush ahead like that. I want to know what I can find if I pick the right choice. Since it made us rush, I don't know what's like... There has to be somewhere we could possibly hide or be able to loot. And it's gonna bug me unless I find out what. So I'm redoing it. BRB. Okay, so let's see. Check the door. You tried opening the door, but it didn't budge. You considered forcing the door open, but you heard a faint noise coming from the other side. You could have sworn it sounded like something heavy and alive was slowly moving towards the door. You had heard rumors of this place, and you definitely didn't want to confirm whether there was any truth to the horror stories. You backed away from the door. Okay, check the room in front of you. The room had an old wooden desk in front of a partly rotten flag that hung on the wall. The flag was that of the old Rondon. The opposite wall had half-empty bookshelves facing towards you. Behind a small pile of rubble, you saw a wooden chest covered in cobwebs and dust. Like, how much time we have to actually search these before the beast chases us is the thing that is interesting me the most, and I wish I could save prior. We don't have lockpicks, so I probably can't do that. The few books that were still left were all in terrible condition. None of the books looked interesting, but behind a large encyclopedia of torture you found not a wine vial. And then the banging happens. So that's the... wait, hide in the room in front of you. Maybe we can hide in this one. Or if we could run outside, maybe we could delay it. But it depends if running outside is like... I can picture the map. We're running north, and when we get in the courtyard, it's a place with the hung people, like the Poles, people... I think it was like... I think that was at least. The courtyard... No, the courtyard was like the extension of grass and with a little door that you could open in the full game, which led to a save point and the pedestal to use soul stones. And then beyond that would be like where the flesh pile is, the people, like the... I can't remember what they were, but the people in the black robes who had lanterns. And then that's where the... Oh, the toilet. The toilet. The toilet was there. Okay, let's hide in the room in front of us. You checked the room for any good spots to hide and decided to crouch behind a bookshelf. The place gave you a good vantage point while hiding you in the shadows. The door crashed open. You saw a dark silhouette as it wandered to the kitchen. Use this chance to sneak past the thing to the dark corridor. Yeah, and then... yeah... And it chases us anyways. Well, I don't want that then, because we got a vial, but I don't want the vial, so I want to check to see what's in the desk. Alright, check out the room in front of me. Check the wooden desk. Based on some old documents lying around on the table, it looked like the desk had belonged to an army officer from the late 16th or early 17th century. You examined all the drawers on the side of the table and found a small key. Suddenly you heard banging. We got a key, which is definitely more important. What if we run outside? If we wait and see what it is, we might be able to face it and defeat it, but the chance of death is also... Steam, do you mind not... Like, I hate when it does that weirdly. Wait and see what it is. You brace yourself for whatever has to come. You figure that a trained mage like yourself doesn't need to hide. We could just, we just could, get molested right here. The door crashed open and violently a huge malformed beast pushed from the door. The creature looked like it could have been once a human, but the darkness had distorted its features beyond recognition. The malformed archaeologist had extra members pushing through his trousers, some of which had grown talons just to perverse the human physique even further. The beast had noticed you and charged towards you with intense hatred. Staff cast hurting on it. Oh boy. Tails. Yes. The creature tried to swing wildly with its arms, but you managed to dodge and finish your chant. You focused all your hatred and rage on a small radius around the monster's shoulder, which created a violent vacuum of energy. So that's what is hurting, is it? The void erased everything in its path. And just like that, the lump of flesh was ripped from the upper torso of the malformed archaeologist. To your surprise, this did little to slow the creature down. After gasping for air for a second, it got right back on its feet and resumed pursuing you, blood running down its stretched mouth. Instead of risking your life, you decided to head straight to the dark corridor the beast had busted through before. We get chased anyways, even though so we could probably get killed there if we failed the coin toss. Just in Fear and Hunger 1 style. Seriously, I heard it all for nothing. I defeated it for nothing. Damn. But we got a small key, but we couldn't search that chest because I don't... like, unless we can open the chest on our way out, I don't know. But yeah, someone was calling us. The courtyard led to another door in the darkness. You pushed forward. Check the laboratory. Your torch lit up a row of grimy old toilet seatings. Old bloodstains were mixed with what looked like semen. Fear and Hunger 1. Can't you just, like, for anyone that's played the game or just remembers my videos or watched it recently, can't just the Fear and 1 Hunger map just... Wait, Fear and 1 Hunger? Fear and Hunger 1 map. Doesn't it just, like, flash in your head? It's just... The amount of nostalgic memories of, like, I can just close my eyes and be like, ah, I can see the map in my head. You wondered how and why you knew such an exquisite little detail. You can jump down the toilet hole, and yes, you can die in the backstory. You can die. You can actually die by, like, it's like a time paradox. You can legit say in your backstory, yes, I'm reminiscing the time I went into Fear and Hunger, the dungeon. Oh wait, I did jump into the toilet hole? Oh wait, that means I don't exist right now. And then you just pop out of existence. Literally, like, it doesn't show anything, but if you claim you jumped down the toilet hole, the game ends. But that technically means you shouldn't be on the train, because then it means you never escaped the Fear and Hunger dungeons. That's the funniest thing, but I don't want to restart the game. Like, maybe it's like, depending on how long this video is, we'll see, because I don't know how long this investigation in Fear and Hunger 1 dungeon is. It's just something I wanted to get rid of and do this first and foremost before I get into the game, because this character actually intrigues me more than I thought he would. But yeah, we're not jumping down the toilet hole. It will kill you. It will. We'll investigate. There's nothing much to the toilet holes. They were just what one would expect them to be. We're not going to accidentally jump in the toilet hole either. The dark corridor. Your torch slowly pushed away the darkness as you advanced towards the unknown. The further you got, the stronger the echo inside your head became. You couldn't make out words clearly, but this was definitely the right direction to head. A large room opened up behind a set of rusty iron bars. Your torch revealed human-like figures that stood still just beyond the radius of the light. Upon closer inspection, you noticed that these figures were medieval iron maidens, human-shaped torture devices that had seen practical use, judging from the old stains that had formed from seeping blood of their victims. I can already picture this in my head, too. The places where we would have found... chisels? No. Scalpel? Did we find a scalpel on one of the tables? It'd be where, like, the tables are at, where you wake up and briefly where the jailer is that you'd kill. Like, you got the torture chamber, lower torture chamber, hallway going up, the arrow trap, fake treasure chest, I think, in the middle of it? Can't remember. And then top left, the jailer's around there. But the jailer's dead. But yeah, I just can picture this in my head in this text adventure, and it's interestingly nostalgic, because I'm still burned out from playing the first game, but seeing it in this perspective is interesting. But, judging from the old stains that had formed from the seeping blood of their victims, the room had numerous other torture devices as well. Most of them would probably be inoperative in this day and age. Among them you saw an old reinforced chest, and at the back of the room, you saw a corridor leading to the cells. The chest could literally be, I do this and I get arrow trapped and I get shot by an arrow, but I didn't do it before because I didn't have a key. So let's see, the chest looked old. It might as well have been medieval for all you knew. As you tried opening it, you realized the lock was still fully functioning. Hopefully this wouldn't be a mistake. 2 bear traps actually could be useful. Like, if I can survive this Fear and Hunger full text adventure, the amount of items you could pull out of it and bring with you into Fear and Hunger Termina sounds like it could be amazing, which is why I'm curiously checking it out. You felt a cold draft run across the chamber. The draft seemed to be guiding you towards the dark corridor at the end of the room. Not yet. Because there's the stairs. The wide stairway leading to an old Almerian sacrificial altar with a skeleton crucified to it. Next to the altar, there was a side path leading deeper into the fortress, yes. The altar was a typical ritual crucifix used to worship Almer, the Ascended One. A sacrifice would be put on the cross and their blood would slowly be drained for days to come. Traditionally, such rituals were used for protection. Almer would look after the immediate surroundings for as long as the blood was running down the cross. The last sacrifice this cross saw must have been this skeleton. There was no blood dripping from the cross anymore, so no protection from Almer either. The side path. The path was a narrow corridor, crudely made from misshapen bricks and stones. It looks like the floor had collapsed at certain points, but you were able to hop over the trench with ease. Yeah, the good old-fashioned holes. A large room opened up before you. The room stood out with its finer decor, spiral floor tiling, and its many bookcase covering the walls. Like this, is this where we meet the... I can't even remember the mage character, the sickly white dude with a dark black robe. I can't remember his name, but this is, I think, where we meet him. If the bookshelf was the secret passageway. The south end corner of the room had a small doorway shrouded in darkness. The north end corner was more dilapidated with a caved-in ceiling and all. Search the bookshelves. Most of the books that were still left had been growing mold for hundreds of years, but they were a handful of manuscripts that appeared surprisingly new. You can go get the Skin Bible of Grogeroth, of Rur, and Sylvian. I'm not sure what the consequences are for getting either of these are yet. We'll get Grogeroth. The manuscripts all seem to be part of a bigger compilation. You would have loved to have all of them with you, but you had a job to do and you couldn't burden yourself with too much extra luggage, even though, you know, I wonder if we can get the Sergal Spear in here. I wonder if, like, we can hypothetically go so deep in the Fear and Hunger 1 dungeon that we can get the Sergal Spear. The manuscripts all seem to be part of a bigger compilation, yeah. A large room opened up before you. The room stood out with its finer decor. Spiral floors, tiling, and its many bookcases covering the walls. The south end corner of the room had a small doorway, shrouded in darkness. But yeah. Check the doorway. Your torch slowly lit up the small room and revealed a wooden desk with drawers, a carpet that was from the Eastern Sanctuaries, judging by its patterns, and a partly eaten corpse that seemed to be part of the archaeological expedition. You searched the desk. It was trash. Someone must have searched the desk. Most of the valuables had been looted a long time ago. Already opening a drawer revealed only old and dusty letters of no importance. The bottom drawer, however, seemed to be stuck. You kicked the drawer a couple of times and managed to force it open. A lucky coin rolled out of the drawer. Faint whining and moaning could be heard from the partly eaten archaeologist. The corpse was trying to get up on its feet. As if it stumbled, a group of keys fell from his lap. You picked up prison keys. Slowly, one step at a time, the ghoul approached you with its mouth stretched unnaturally open. I'll attack it with my staff. I remember when I was here at this, like, I skipped through when I was playing this and found out about this being Fear and Hunger 1 dungeon. I hadn't clicked that it was. I thought it was, like, since I had zoomed by until it clicked on me that was Fear and Hunger when I was doing this. And I tried casting Hurting and it didn't do anything. So I'm going to try staff. Tails. Oh, these do tails. Yes. You swung your staff at the ghoul. The staff hit the cheekbone of the creature, which caved in from the impact, but this did little to distract. As he took a bite from the handle and yanked the staff from me. What? The ghoul kept on advancing towards you. Don't tell me you took my staff. You had never faced a living dead before, and it seemed the traditional means of harm had very little impact. You backed away from the room, yet the ghoul kept on following you. You cautiously hopped. Like, I want to know what else is in the room. We got prison keys, which is probably important. But did he just take my staff or no? The creature is not as agile. Wait, you backed away from the room, yet the ghoul kept on following you. You cautiously hopped over the collapsed floor in the corridor leading up to the library. The creature was not as agile, instead face planted on the ground as it tripped on the rubble. The ghoul was waist deep in the trench, unable to climb back up. Desperately, he tried reaching out for you with his blood-soaked hands. The whines and growls turned into agitated shrieks as it furiously tried to snatch you. It looked like the creature was stuck. You figured you'd best just leave that area for now and explore elsewhere. But I want to know what else is there. That's why, like, multiple playthroughs are going to be necessary. The side path. The ghoul was still stuck in the rubble. Seemed like he wasn't able to climb up. The thing had just kept reaching for you. Kill it! No! So, that's where we go in the dark corridor. There's nothing more in the chest. Go to the dark corridor. Loud creaks and groans could be heard behind you. Something big had just entered the foyer. You figured it must have been the malformed archaeologist from before. The sun must have set, which made it possible for the creature to advance through the courtyard. The creature must have had your scent, as his footsteps clearly closed in on you at a rapid pace. You had to act fast. The corridor that opened up was a long one with multiple cell doors covering each side. At the end, there was large bars sealing off the staircase. Only a rusty lock stood in your way. We'll check the cell doors. You heard the creature charge through the nearby torture chamber, knocking over the Iron Maidens and crashing through the tables in pursuit of you. All the doors were locked. Your torch barely lit any of the cells, so there was no telling what was inside them. As you turned around, your torch revealed the hulking beast right next to you. By then, it was too late to react. Oh, wait! Bro, what? The beast grabbed you violently and snapped your neck like a twig. The last thing your eyes registered was the monster's pulsating appendage hanging between his legs. Looks like the cell just aroused the beast. Oh! Looks like your story ended before it even properly began. Okay, we did die. Fuck me. We ended up getting raped by the prison guard of Fear and Hunger 1. That isn't what happened the first time I was playing. I think it's just like if we ignore the beast, that never happens. I'm guessing there might be a chance we can defeat him. But if we get distracted, I will see if I can defeat him, but that also means simply whether or not we get lucky with the coin toss multiple times. There's so many what-ifs. So I'll skip ahead and show what other variables exist. Because I want to figure this entire thing out before I legit even get into Termina itself. There's a reason, though, to that. There's something special about this that others won't know about unless you pick this character. Just give me a moment. Okay, so let's see. We can search the body and we can search the desk. If we search the body, it gets up anyways, so I don't think searching the body has a point. I think searching the desk is the best thing. Because we can force it open, get a lucky coin, and then the corpse gets up, but drops the prison keys that we pick up anyways. We'll cast Hurting and see, again, what happens then, just so you guys see. Ignoring it maybe could make it so it doesn't see us, maybe. But it says it's approached you with his mouth open. So, cast Hurting. Come on, Tails. Yes! You finish your chant and focus all your hatred and fury on the ghoul's soft torso. Like a vortex, the energy tore the archaeologist's skin and rotten meat and left a gaping hole in their place. To your surprise, the ghoul kept on advancing towards you as if nothing had happened. Like, it's like, why did Hurting, like, Hurting doesn't seem to do anything to any of the damn, it's just a ghoul, damn it. It's one of the weakest enemies. You backed away from the room, yet the ghoul kept on following you. And similarly, it trips on the rubble. At least it didn't possibly take my staff. Alright, but this time, as much as I have the prison keys and can avoid the big boy, we're gonna go back to the dark corridor. We already got the chest, we got the bear traps. Yeah, something bit entered it. The creature must have had your scent. If we get distracted, if we go to the torture chamber, we might be able to face it, hopefully. Because I want to see if I can, after an amount of, like, attacking it twice or 3 times, maybe we can actually get it killed and take something from it. Because if we just leave immediately and, you know, avoid... You can check the cell doors if it wasn't chasing you, but let's see what happens if we go to it. You returned to the torture chamber despite knowing what was waiting for you there. You barely got out of the corridors. You got violently tackled against the wall and lost consciousness. What? Seriously? Okay, so we... Just having it chase us seems like a bad fucking deal, I guess. We're just not gonna get spotted by it, because there's a what-if chance that if you attack it, and, like, you know, you used Hurting and you hurted it, you injured the guard, but it chases you anyways, maybe later on, just not there, you'll be able to actually kill it, because it's literally one of the first enemies of the game. And you can take it down as long as you know what you're doing, but this guy's attacking it like he's kind of clueless. So, I don't know, but give me a moment again. Okay, what if I run outside? You turned around and considered leaving the darkness, however you feared that you might have never been able to return if you had left the place, so you decided to stay. You ran as fast as you could, creating distance. You couldn't see much, but... yeah, we still ran from it. I don't know if it would be angry and chase us the same way if we attacked it versus not attacking it, though. If we ignore it, we don't get the chance of wasting a blast. If we ignore most enemies, I think that'd probably be for the best, honestly. Leave the area now. Okay, so now we go to the dark corridor. And now we open the chest for the bear traps. Unless the key will be better used elsewhere, I don't know right now. Check the dark corridor. Oh, something big has entered. God damn it. Okay, so he's still chasing me. So yeah, we're going to check the gate. You hear the creature trash the nearby torture chambers. The guard is just like bursting through. He's right on your heels. You couldn't see him in the darkness, but you could sense his intense hatred coming in on you. The gate was locked with a reinforced lock. You tried to remain cool as you hoped the prison keys would work. The beast was already charging towards you as you opened the gate and slipped inside only seconds before the malformed monster smashed against the bars. Finally, the creature tried to reach for you while making low grunt noises from his swollen throat. The bars in the gate seemed to hold the beast for now, but you didn't want to stay and find out whether the thing could eventually break in. Instead, you took the stairs deeper into the darkness. The thought crossed your mind, if darkness had twisted those poor sods to become mindless beasts, would the same fate await you if you stayed at the dungeons for long enough? The stairs became sticky from old gore and blood the deeper you got. The air was stale and had a rotten smell to it. The voice inside your head got louder. You still couldn't make the sense of the words, but it was definitely calling for you. Deeper. You had to get deeper, that much was clear. You entered a huge chamber full of partly buried skeletons and rotting corpses lying about. The ground had a thick layer of dried blood and filth which had accrued? Wasn't it would be accrued around the chamber walls over the years. So it's that tunnel way remember the... I can't even remember the dude. The floating head, the floating mage head that'd be in the corpse pile. We're right there, basically. Like, can't you visualize that? Like I can. It's amazing. Each step you took echoed to dizzying heights. You couldn't see the chamber ceiling. The walls just rose up forever to the darkness. There were 2 staircases in the chamber. One led to the ground level you had just escaped, while the other led lower to the levels. In the middle of the chamber, there was a rather new-looking wooden contraption, the elevator. Examine the pile of bodies. Most of the bodies had been decaying and decomposing for hundreds of years. Some bodies looked fresher than the others, while some were reduced to bare skeletons. The ludicrous amount of corpses did raise questions about the purpose of this chamber, but there's no one around to answer those questions anymore, so you just took everything at face value. And crowd and contraption. You didn't notice the gaping hole at the center of the chamber until you got closer, and your torch lit up the surrounding. The wooden contraption had been built around it as a freight elevator of sorts, lifting and lowering items and people if necessary, down to the caves, where we'd find Moonless. If only we could find a Moonless in this. If we could find Moonless alive and bring Moonless with us, that would be amazing. There's 3 things I want in this, because this is like a time paradox text adventure. I don't know what we can acquire from here. Maybe we can get Sergal Spear. Maybe we can get Moonless. Because canonically, I don't think canonically it is revealed what happened to the party members of Fear and Hunger 1. But if it happened hundreds of years ago, I'll assume basically most humans would have died by then. But do creatures live for eternity? Like, if the prison guards exist from all the way then till now, are they malformed into like living forever as beasts? Is that what Fear and Hunger does? Because if the prison guards last forever, because they're monsters in the Fear and Hunger dungeons, that means most monsters probably technically live forever, or they just have like a huge surplus stock of prison guards to replace the ones that you killed in Fear and Hunger 1. But if it's the other way around, where the creatures don't die in Fear and Hunger 1 unless they are killed by something, there's a chance Moonless could still be alive. Don't know if it's alive. I still don't want spoilers, by the way. But yeah, it's just, there's a lot of what-ifs that it's interesting to think about. You could have used the contraption yourself too if you had the rope with you, or maybe the lever. There were 2 staircases, yes. So we go down. We can't, the floating dudes' heads obviously wouldn't still be in the corpse pile from Fear and Hunger 1's adventure. The stairs leading down were sticky with the grime like everything else in the chamber. A cold draft moved you along to the chasm that weighted you to the bottom. A giant underground ravine opened up before you. Even your torch couldn't properly light up the area. There were iron grid platforms suspended above a seemingly bottomless chasm. So now we're like the prison cells with the metal flooring, where one prison guard was the crossbow prison guard, I think? At least in Fear and Hunger 1. And the floating weird bat creature things. The children bat things. Yeah. The platforms were mounted on cavern walls and linked together with shaky-looking bridge. The side that you were on had a few individual prison cells in a row. What awaited on the other side of the bridge was shrouded in darkness. We'll check the prison cells. You tried opening the prison cells, but all of them appeared locked. Some of the locks were too rusty to even function properly anymore. There appeared to be no way inside the bars. Not that you missed anything important. The torchlight revealed just regular prison utilities like piss buckets, chains, and a couple of skulls. The grid platforms looked old and rusty. The platforms gave worrisome creaks as you walked on them. The fact that the parts of the platform had already collapsed didn't exactly reassure you of their condition. It's like Fear and Hunger dungeon, but even more dangerous because it's more decrepit from where it was before. Okay, so we'll walk across the bridge. You cautiously walked up to the bridge, just putting some weight on the thing caused a couple of nuts and bolts fall down to the endless depths. You braved across it. The bridge felt like it was about to collapse at any moment, but somehow it remained together. The other side of the ravine was more or less identical to the one where you just came. There were 3 cells in a row at the end of the platform. There was a corridor leading away from the ravine back to solid ground. All the cells were locked. One cell in particular caught your attention. There was a huge naked creature inside. Its features looked human, but the person must have been at least 2.5 meters tall, if not more. As long as he doesn't have the head of a crow. The upper body of the thing was shrouded in darkness. Uh-oh. That's not a good sign. For a moment you thought the creature was still breathing. A little typo. But you figured it must have been just a flickering torch creating illusions. Surely, you walked away as quietly as possible regardless. I don't trust that thing. If it's really tall, and its head is not visible, on purpose, Go to the corridor. The corridor took you to a small intersection. I need to go to the jailer's room for the key, for possibly the lever it's there. The corridor took you to a small intersection. To your left, there was a doorway to a small room. Enter right corridor, deeper to the darkness. We'll check the small room. The room looked like it had once belonged to an army officer. There was numerous weapon racks in your room positioned next to an empty shelf. At the back of the room, there was a wooden desk with an impressive-looking leather recliner behind it. Behind the desk, you noticed a small cast-iron chest with what seemed like a rusty lever. Check the lever. It looked like a mechanical lever used to control something. You tried pulling it, but it was stuck. It didn't budge even a little. It was a curious little thing, but its purpose would remain a mystery to you. You heard a distant chains rattle by the chasm. Seems like the small commotion caused by your exploration reached the ears of someone or something. The room looked like it had once belonged to an army. Okay. We will leave. The corridor took you to a small intersection to your left. We'll head deeper in the darkness. I'm not staying in that room. That saying something woke up. I'm not trusting. I'm not going to stay there. It's the same thing with the guard. We'll leave rather than push our luck. Later on, because if we finish this and succeed, we'll be able to save the character. Only after this adventure. So who knows how long this is. But I want to, like, complete it, find out what's the right path, what's the wrong path. And then people at least will be like, okay, well, you know, like, make a web series of where to go to complete this full-text adventure if one doesn't already exist. Your torch pushed away the darkness. The dancing light flickered on a lone skeleton chained on the wall. The corridor circled back to the great chasm and its suspended platforms. The gridiron bridge connecting to the two sides had completely collapsed on the end of the ravine. You noticed a rope tied on the platform. On the other end of the rope you saw a corpse belonging to the archaeological expedition. This person had apparently hanged himself. The horrors of the dungeons must have been too much. We don't need to examine. Lift up the corpse. You pulled the corpse up. You were right in your assessment. The person had modern clothing that looked like that of a stereotypical Western archaeologist. The person had nothing of value, did pick up the rope. Good. The gridiron bridge connecting. Let's go back. Head back. Your footsteps were the only thing echoing in the air, apart from the occasional water droplet heard in the distance as you headed back. There was the doorway to the small room. Would I have to... wait. If the bridge is completely out, wait. The small door goes back to the room. We're not going to the small door because I'm not risking that. The cells, if the thing that was in the cell got up, I'm not trusting it. Okay, dark corridor. The ravine. You saw faint shapes in the darkness. The platform seemed to continue on the other side. God knows how large this man-made area really was. Yeah, the gridiron bridge had been completely collapsed. You checked all the pockets but found nothing of value. Head back. Oh, God, this is problematic. As you walked to the platform, you heard loud screeching from one of the cells. The noise was coming from the exact cell you feared it would. The huge creature in the cell had waken up from its slumber. A large humanoid creature busted through the cells. The thing was naked, revealing its abnormally muscular and scarred physique. Its left arm was missing, replaced with what looked like a long pole or a rod full of thorns and other sharp projections. The most striking feature, however, in this abomination was its head. The thing had a head of a crow. Fucking Crow Mauler returns! And it was not just a mask. The feathers seemed to be growing down its neck as well. You couldn't help but take a few steps back. That strong... Was that strong? And this... Wait, that strong was the killing intent emanating from that thing. No. Yeah, no. Try to slip by it. You try to slip by the creature. First you dodge another swing coming your way, and then leaped on the annexing bridge, just barely escaping beyond the crow's reach. You ran across the bridge. The creature followed hot on your trail. The shaky bridge clattered under your feet. Just as you made it to the other side, the whole thing fell to pieces. The hulking mass of the Crow Mauler was too much for the antique construction. The creature slumped down to the endless chasm with collapsing parts and pieces. It likely didn't die from that either. You were standing on the gridiron platform that was suspended above the dark ravine that opened up below. The bridge that had linked the platform to the other side had collapsed entirely with the crow. The side you were on had a few individual prison cells. Well, yeah, check the bridge remains. You walked to the bridge remains and looked down. The chasm was deep, very deep. The creature couldn't have survived the fall. That's what you kept saying to yourself anyway. I mean, technically I killed it. But canonically, I guess we didn't. And canonically it did not die. I'm curious, one thing that was always the mystery to me was, nearing the end of the game, there's like that dead-end area nearing the end of the game, nearing Grogroth, which had the double-headed Crow Mauler. Was that ever explained? Of why there was another crow mauler that was a two-headed one that had like no real purpose, or did it get a purpose later on and I just never saw it? I'll have to, you know, I'm gonna actually check up the wiki. I'm curious now. Here we go. The double-headed crow mauler. What was its purpose? It was found much later in the game than the usual crow mauler in a much different fashion. It resides at the bottom of the floor of the gauntlet. Should the player have had the bad luck and fall through the floor on the final pathway, they'll find themselves in a small corridor with the double-headed crow mauler. Okay, so it's if you fall, you're fucked. It is possible to avoid the fight if one waits for the creature to leave the corridor briefly, just enough to allow some movement around them. If done while he has his back turned, he won't even have time to react. He won't follow to the opposite end of the corridor, so this is to be done on his side. It is just as strong as crow mauler, except for its two heads, which have to be attacked separately. And because the creature to use the instant killing peck attack twice as much as the normal version. Yeah, exactly. They just keep making these things. Because it's the Sergal. Oh yeah, that dude. I can't even remember if this guy was like recruitable or not. I swear there's like a dude you could recruit that I could just not know about. Date of death, 1590. Bunch of peckerheads. But it's just like, if you fell down, it's basically death. And it's like a more dangerous version of the original crow mauler. But I guess this thing, it says date of death, 1590. Place of birth, the Kingdom Rundon. Oh, it was Captain Rudimer? Dungeon Knights, oh yeah. But yeah, no, like, it has to be still alive, but hopefully it won't explain anything about, like, I don't want to see anything Fear and Hunger Termina related, but yeah. Crow mauler is still alive. He did not die in 1590. Or just he got replaced. Because the Fear and Hunger is, it's like, if something dies, the dungeon replaces the role of that of what you kill. Because, I mean, if it can... I don't know. If there's two different crow maulers, I don't know if they're actually unique, like, character unique, or it's just, they just keep being created like some kind of RPG dungeon, you know? No idea. Anyways. We are going to go back up. As you walked back up, you once again heard the echo inside your head. This time you could almost understand some words. Deeper, you must delve deeper. The correct path must have been somewhere at the bloody chamber. There were two staircases in the chamber. The contraption. The wooden contraption has been built around the gaping hole. Itself was stuck out just by not being stained with the blood and filth like everything else. Judging by some of the equipment around, the elevator must have been used by the same archaeological expedition that had set up the tents outside. You could have used the contraption yourself. You tied the rope tightly to the wooden beams and threw the loose end down the pit. Let's go back to crow mauler! And let's hope we run into Moonless, like seriously. Like in canonically by Neco lore, Moonless suffered a grave, fatal death while fighting one of the old gods in that magma place. I can't remember who we're fighting. We're fighting like what the god of... Who did we fight? We're in like the magma chambers, and Moonless fell in combat there, and it was like the theatrical end. Ugh. The theatrical end of Moonless was in the gold magma chambers. I just can't remember who we were fighting at the time, but it was just really... It was bittersweet. I don't know. I'd hope Moonless is still alive. A cold draft could be felt coming from the depths below. You headed down. Now, as long as the giant bat mom isn't down here, you climbed down to the claustrophobic bloody pit. The pit opened up, and the area that revealed itself was even more open than the ravine upstairs. There's a huge cavern beneath the fortress ruins. The rope ended up on top of the crashed wreckage. An iron cage had crashed on the rocky ground from the pit you came from. A closer inspection suggested that it was an elevator of some kind. Needless to say, it wasn't functional anymore. You stood on solid ground next to the wreckage. The cavern was huge. Your torchlight left you standing in the middle of darkness with no points of interest, apart from a makeshift campsite with a couple of tents and some archaeological equipment. Wreckage. The iron frame of the elevator had bent from the fall. There's still a broken chain hanging on the roof. The chain must have lifted and lowered the elevator when necessary back when the elevator was still functioning. Okay, check the campsite. As you walked up the tents, you noticed that there was no signs of life there. The archaeological crew... I keep mispronouncing that word off by just a little bit. The crew was gone. The campsite had a couple of tents side by side, open crates full of digging equipment, and a makeshift table full of various documents scattered around. Behind the camp, you found a larger digging site. Sure, let's check the digging site, because we could It said you should go into the darkness, but the digging site was bigger than how it looked initially. The site expanded to nearby cliffs with the wooden platforms leading down to a dark chasm. What about the darkness, though? Head to the darkness. You started walking to the darkness with your torch working as your only light source. As you walked away from the wreckage, the voice echoing inside became more distant. The further you got, the more aggravated it got too. Whatever was the source of these voices, it obviously didn't want you to go this way. Okay. We'll obey. Because that could lead to death, and I'd rather avoid death right now. Like, if I get a save point and I want to find out what is in here, if it's an extra item, or it's a dead end, but the head... whatever is talking in my head is not wanting me to go that way, so... the campsites, the digging site... The campsite had a couple of tents side by side. Wait. Digging site. You descended down to the dark depths. The echo inside your head returned once again. Misguided soul, can't you hear my call? The words were clear this time around. Good. Finally, the voices became ever more clear. The archaeological crew had been digging deep and revealed something that should have stayed hidden. Ancient structures that could clearly be seen protruding from the rocky surface. The structures looked almost like remains of a city from another time. The wooden platforms took you straight to them, and a ladder was set to lead you inside what looked like a temple or some other place of worship. You climbed in. Most of the temple is dilapidated by the time, but you could still spot some murals on the walls that depicted rituals and gods not known in this day and age. Even if you only witnessed glimpses of something larger, the scale of the buildings already impressed you. It was unlike anything you had ever seen. Eastern sanctuaries, the city of Amon, Abyzonia, they all paled in comparison. The voice inside your head was getting loud. This way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. You dug the rubble with your bare hands. You turned over wooden structures and pushed away a stone pillar. And there it was, the source of the voice. A burnt and withered head, a severed head to be more precise. The head had deep lines running across it. In the place of its eyes were dark and empty sockets. The only hair on its head was the sparse mustache under its big nose. I wasn't expecting a worm like you weaseling its way this deep to the dungeons, but I'll take what I get. All earthworms do, after all, is dig. Your garments, maybe you do have more than a camel's spunk in place of your brains. You are a Yellow Mage, are you not? You confirm the suspicions of the beheaded oddity. Figures, that is why a measly maggot like you could hear my call. Very well. Kneel before me, for I am your master, Nazra, the doom and terror of the modern man. That name, Nazra, that was a name you were not expecting to hear. It was a name even the Yellow Mages only talked in the darkest hours of the night. Nazra, the harbinger of the burning crusade. Nazra. Wait. Nazra, and then they said Nashra. I'm gonna keep pronouncing it Nazra. Nazra, the bringer of torment. Nazra, the doom and terror of the modern man. The great wizard from the eastern sanctuaries went by many names. He indeed was your master. For this beheaded wizard was the only one who gave birth to the Yellow Mages and their ideology. Only that had happened over 1,000 years earlier. There were no records of Nazra for at least 500 years. Cook, you're a lucky bastard, lucky indeed. There's a man I want skinned alive after that. I want to rip off their spines, those maggots. They will slump before me, limp and feeble. Your master seemed to be surprisingly up to date with the twists and turns the world had taken since his absence. He had a mission for you. As Yellow Mage, you were supposed to follow your own ambitions and greed, but there was a lot you could learn from this death-defying wizard that could further your knowledge on dark matters greatly. You decided to play along. You were sure that this terror of the modern man was perfectly aware of your reasoning too. That the typical relationship between a Master Yellow Mage and their apprentice, after all. You were to travel to a small country in the Eastern Europa with the beheaded wizard to a town called Prevel. Your master promised events of cosmic proportions. The stars were aligned for something big to happen, something that would turn the tides of the world for good. The head left out details from his story on purpose, but that did little to bother you. You had just jumped to the deep end of the otherworldly world. You couldn't have asked for more. With this little information about the task at hand, how did you prepare for the trip? Well, magical goods? That'll help with MP if we keep using blasts of hurting. You felt tense since the moment you embarked on this journey. Every night you'd see nightmares of the horrors that would await you in Prevel. Whatever the price, the opportunity was too interesting to pass. With mixed feelings, you continued onwards. Holy shit. And that's where we have this character. And we won't skip the intro because we get a weapon too. We will test out hurting on the creature clearly, but now that we have it saved, holy shit, I've been recording for an hour. All that for a wonderful Fear and Hunger nostalgic trip. Crow Mauler. I do want to check more in that little room, but I'm very sure we'll just die the longer we stay in that small room, because we only escape from Crow Mauler from jumping over the bridge out of desperation. If we're in the small room, we are literally trapped, likely. You feel like someone is watching you while you sleep. You hear voices echoing from the beheaded wizard. We're in his radius now. Better not let me down now. That's one of the reasons why I'd want to play this guy, though, instead of Jotaro. Because we have the beheaded wizard. I dried and burned severed head. The face is forever left in a spiteful grimace. The head is not without purpose, though some kind of power in it reflects otherworldly attacks occasionally. Wait. Actually, wait. I might have missed something, too. The Chak-Chak, a seemingly simple shaker. Oh, wow, increases my magic attack. That makes it definitely important. A seemingly simple shaker instrument, the combination of pebbles inside and the various pearls tied onto it create a hypnotic rhythm that helps one focus on the otherworldly. Magic attack boost accessory, hell yeah. Okay, we'll always get the Chak-Chak. As for the knife, I don't even know if we really want that. But yeah. Oh wait, we have also 125 body. We got extra health, and it reflects, especially since we're missing 25. Was it because we did the full story and it rewarded us? Or is it because we put on the Chak-Chak? Hang on. It wasn't the Chak-Chak. It definitely wasn't the knife. It's not his head. It's not the... Curious. What other items do we have then? And do we have the book? Oh, we have the bear traps! So we start off with bear traps. That'd be so helpful. And yeah, this. A strong occult book written in the medieval times by Enki. Enki! Yeah, Enki wrote the book. Enki was the dude I was talking about with the black robe. The chapter explains the older god Grogroth. Okay, what happens if we read it? Grogroth, the destroyer of men, he who ushers a new dawn with force and violence. Grogroth is the other part of the most primal duality, creation and destruction, where the other doesn't exist without the other. The word destruction is often associated with the evil of the world. This, of course, is foolishness. There's no room for new creation if the slate is not first burnt clean and empty. A man fears destruction. Man gets accustomed to peace and quiet. Man grows fat and afraid of change. Change is inevitable, just as Grogroth. What one needs to understand is that the destruction is of pure kind. It does not target one man specifically, it just exists. Grogroth is associated with the god of creation, Sylvian, and their child, the god of nature, Venushka. Grogroth offers the mankind the blessing of blood magic. Constant sacrifices in his name will maintain the relationship. The mark of Grogroth raises the physical strength of its wearer. The text includes the sigil of Grogroth and instructions on how to use it. So do we actually, like, learn that then, I guess? Skills. We have Hurting, Pyromancy Trick, the greatest. I remember when I found out Pyromancy Trick was broken, fun times. Otherwise, I'm not sure. We have a save though. But now it's just, if I'm gonna wrap up this video, I want to find out, there's one thing I did actually miss. I know for a fact I missed. It's one, the darkness in the caves. So I'm gonna skip ahead. I've been recording for an hour. There's gonna be another long episode. I don't want these episodes to be this long, honestly, but it's just like, this is a lengthy portion of full text adventure, and a lot of ways you can die, like, you know, going down the toilet. But I think there'll be a few things I can do better, so give me a second. Since I know exactly how to win, I'm gonna see what things on the side I missed. Because I think there's a chance I missed a treasure in that small room. Alright, the chest had a thick and durable looking lock. It must have been, yeah, see, I'm going to use the small key on the chest here and see what's in here, rather than the other chest, which we know always has 2 bear traps, never anything else, no RNG. What is in here? Only a small ring. Ooh, thorned ring! That's definitely from Fear and Hunger 1. You heard a distant chains rattling. Okay, yeah. Something, Crow Mauler gets up and definitely comes here the further we stay here. What is in the weapons rack? Just swords and spears. One of the swords wasn't complete rubbish, and one of the spears appeared to be surprising. I need to... It just says Iron Spear, but I want to know what its stats are. Can we take this as well, or is it too late? Can I still leave? If we stay here longer... No, we're leaving. So we can get the chest with a key and get a damn thorn ring, and we can get a spear, although it's just an iron spear, but I don't know how much damage it does. We can get a sword too, and I don't know its quality, but we're returning to the corridor. Head deeper to the darkness. If we looked for one more thing, I do believe we would die to Crowballer. 100%. Do believe so. Because the more we rummage around, the more the noises get closer and closer. So, at this point, lift up the corpse. Examine the corpse. Examine the ravine. Head back. I'm just hoping if I go in the darkness in the caverns, it doesn't get me killed. Wait. Go check out the cells. Oh, wait, I can... No, just no attacking. Up. Just no. No attacking. Period. Just no. No, just not at all. No. Not goddamn at all. Examine the contraption. Use rope. Head to darkness. I'll keep on walking. I'm hoping it doesn't get me killed, but you walk straight until you ran into a rock wall. The wall rose up beyond the radius. The wall rose up beyond the radius of your torchlight. I'm curious. I want to know where it leads. If it's not just simply death. You can go back for the head if we don't die. You kept walking. The ground was pretty even, and in general, the terrain was fairly easily traversable. Pretty soon you found yourself at the edge of a cliff. The sight reminded you of a ravine upstairs. Most likely the chasm before you was the very same. The place looked like a dead end, so you traced back to your footsteps to the elevator wreckage. That proved out to be more difficult than you expected. The ground was hard, so there was barely any footsteps left on it. After meandering about for a while, you stumbled upon the wreckage just by sheer accident. Lucky you. Okay, so we survived that. Okay. Lucky us. Maybe there's a chance we can die. Check the campsites, and check the documents. Yeah, dig the site. And we get the head. Alright, then we'll see what we got out of this, because, like, I got meditation just to see what the stats were. Also, medical goods. 2 blue vials and cloth fragment. No. And yes to skip. Now we'll see what items... I want to see everything... I want to know if meditation will be useful. Pyromancy trick probably would be... Wake up, maggot. Something seems off, though. This is not the moon god's usual modus operandi. Operandi? I mean, this is different because we skipped the thing. This is after waking up. You hear the voice echoing from the beheaded wizard. Trust no one but me, obviously. As long as you do what I say, I don't actually care about the trust part either. You hear the voices from the beheaded wizard. Now move it, maggot! He hasn't changed one bit. Alright, in this playthrough, meditation. Reach a higher state of awareness. Meditate while guarding to gain extra rev points on that turn. Oh. I mean, I'd probably go for this, honestly. So you can meditate while guarding. Meditate while guarding. Can we do both? Like, is meditation replacing guard? Reach higher state of meditate while guarding. I mean, like, if I have a choice of guarding, which you do during fights, it'll definitely be useful. Like, I don't need, requires 1 rev point. Yeah. I don't need pyromancy trick if I have herding. I'll just, use herding instead only. As for everything else, we don't have the bear trap. And I got this book instead, just to see what was written in it. Because Enki had wrote it. Very much like the sun, the moon is one of the primordial entities, and thus it has lore and beliefs written since the dawn of time. This makes it difficult to separate facts from fiction, and mad ramblings from hidden truths. Consistent details among the myriad? Let's go with myriad. Of stories seem to hint at a god called Rur, also known as the trickster god and the moon god. In the most ancient of writings, Rur is depicted as the god of the insane and those who've succumbed to the madness. His blessing to men is his moonlight, which is said to uncover the truth under the human filth, a truth that is often too much for a human mind to handle, and can be debated whether his version of the truth is more accurate than that of the human filth. Unlike many of the other older gods, Rur's part, I'm probably mispronouncing his name too, but I remember saying that in Fear Hunger 1 playthrough, part in the scheme of things remains a mystery. Just looking at the night sky, you can see his presence in the eternal slumber. This makes his secrecy even more infuriating. He is literally hiding in plain sight. The Mark of Rur raises the maximum capacity of the mind. The text includes a sigil of Rur and instructions how to use it, which is why I'd go with this book rather than Golgoroth, because if I can do rituals to him, then it'd probably help me, my character as this guy, than anything else. Otherwise, Spear, plus 36, that's pretty good. An old iron spear that was used by the cavalry of Bohemia a few days ago up until firearms became more prevalent in this region. Yeah, it looks rusty. 36 is not bad. It's pretty good. And, oh yeah, the Thorn Ring. Thorn Ring. A ring with thorns that emit a steady flow of poison to its wearer. Steady flow makes one immune to more potent toxins. Huh. So if I wear it, will it literally poison me? I'll have to find out, I guess, a little bit. It probably only works based on steps. So at one point, the thorn... A bone saw! Oh my god. Rusty bone saw! We're not keeping this save, I mean, I didn't even save it. Let's check it out. Did I break the game? It just went black. I found a game-breaking bug. Why? I'm always the one finding game-breaking bugs. That's why I should have maybe been a playtester of the game, but then that would have just made me burned out and would have spoiled me to too many things. I avoided so many spoilers. So Fear and Hunger 1, the amount of times I found errors and problems in the game that made it so the developer could fix it was probably a lot. Alright, I'll replay the game one more time just to see what the fucking sword is on that weapon rack. That'll be the last thing I need to do. Otherwise, I'll keep the ring instead of the bear trap. The bear traps will be... I mean, the bear traps will definitely help with survival. But if we find a character who can craft them... You know... I want to see how strong that sword is, though, so... One more damn playthrough, and then we'll be done with this character's beginnings. Ah, shit, I stayed for too long. Yeah, after 3 searches, yep. Hide behind the wooden desk. A huge humanoid creature entered the room. The thing was naked, revealing its abnormally... Yep. The feathers. Its empty, glaring eyes seemed to stare right through you from the darkness. The crow gave a loud caw that was mixed with a deep, resonating growl. It got cut off there, unfortunately. Of an anguished man that was all the warning you got as it charged straight for you. The creature swung furiously at you. Try to defend. Hurting and attacking probably won't do anything, so try to defend. You tried desperately to defend yourself against the mauling arm, but was in vain. The swing had a terrifying force behind it, and you got crushed against the floor. The creature knew perfectly well how to utilize the dreadful weapon as its thorns and spikes scraped the skin off your back. You're surprised by the mercy shown as the crow finished you quickly, with just one additional swoop that broke your spine. Well, I already died. Examining the lever is a waste of time. So it's like... To get the perfect everything, you get the chest, you get the weapon, you leave. So I was right the entire time. Alright, I saved over my prior save. I got the sword, I got the thorn ring, I got meditation, I do believe, unless I messed something up and I just can't remember. And I might have gotten something else in the tents. So this might be like the perfect save for this character at the very least. So let's see. Let's see. We got matches. Oh, maybe we got that from the tent. Oh, an ornament lantern. I got a whole bunch of things. Got tobacco. I searched the corpse instead of kicking the desk, so I got one less ring, but the dude had tobacco. A rare luxury product from the new continent, the dark lands of Vinland. Can be smoked with the pipe. It doesn't say at least that has, I mean, it doesn't even say it gives me, like, it's not as horrible as heroin. And this does fire damage, so it'll be useful in combat for things that are weak to fire. And matches, which might be useful. Got lots of blue vials. We got tobacco. Wait, tobacco is an item and a healing? Is it the same item, or is it like it should be separate? Maybe that's an oversight. Maybe it's a bug. Maybe the tobacco I got from Fear and Hunger Dungeon 1, which it is a healing item. I should have 2 tobaccos, but they're separate. I don't know. As soon as I upload this and the developer maybe sees the video, they'll know whether or not this is an oversight or not. We got Sylvian. I don't know if this will be the perfect save I get, or I'd go back and get the Rur book on the moon. So we got the Thorn Ring, we got the Chak, and the Officer's Sword just to see. It looks like it's just as strong. Actually, no, wait, well... Whoa! Yeah, no, wasn't the spear was 36, wasn't it? Or was it 35 as well? But either way, it's all this stuff. I'm not sure. This says ring emits a steady flow of poison. A steady flow makes one immune to more potent toxins. I don't know if it literally means you will be poisoned over time, or if it means poison resistance. I don't know if like keeping wearing it, it'll just be like, you have been poisoned after a short while. I don't know. I'm not asking for answers, by the way. Actually, if you know if the Thorned Ring will just eventually poison you, and it's best to wear it only when you are potently poisoned, let me know in the comments below. I'm fine with being told just that if wearing this is bad, if people actually have the same progress I do. But otherwise, this is a lot of good stuff for the start of a game. Like, seriously, I'm packing, and I got a head on me. But yeah, that's just, that is this character. That is the intrigue of this character. And why I think playing this guy would be maybe even for the better, because we have a link to Fear and Hunger 1 with the floating wizard head. Except he's not a party member right now, but it's said it occasionally casts magic. So, he says here, the head is not without purpose, though. Some kind of power in it reflects otherworldly attacks occasionally. So occasionally he'll get angry, be like, fuck you, maggot, and then just like attack whatever maybe you're in, like, you know, in a fight with. So RNG-wise, it'll attack people with you. This character has links to Fear and Hunger 1, which makes it so it's like, why would I not play this character? But either way, we'll leave it there. This is really too fucking long, but for anyone who's a Fear and Hunger fan, this just feels like a massive nostalgic trip. So let me know in the comments below if you feel the same way, if you knew about this character, if you knew about the full story, if you even did this already or not, or if this is a brand new experience or like brand new knowledge to you and it excites you as much as it does me. But if you did enjoy, please leave a like, comment, hit that subscribe button, become a subscriber, hit the notification down below for updates on my videos. Thank you for watching, and until the next time.